Even on the longest days of the year, Amy hopefully is already up and working when the sun rises over her Fonda farm. Little Jacob swings between a dozen cows during 6 a.m. milking. Then Amy's husband handles the farm while she works a full-time sales job in her home office until 5. And she's back out to the barn until 8 p.m. That is a 15-hour day. And every day of hard work, the farm is losing money. When the milk check comes in, it doesn't even cover the cost to produce the milk.
You know, there's things we'd like to do, repairs, new buildings, all that gets put off in times like this, and we just focus on taking care of our girls.
Taking care of the 75 girls is Amy's dream job. She just bought this farm outside of Fonda 2 years ago. But already, some days, she regrets it.
Sometimes. Yeah, it depends what day you ask me and what's occurring that day. But to us, this is what we want to do. Farming is a way of life, so you push through and stay positive.
Now, hopefully say they couldn't sell the farm even if they wanted to. Wouldn't be enough to cover the debt. Nobody's buying dairy right now anyway. There are farmers who have sold all their cows and some of their equipment, and they're still in the hole. This is it.
Yeah, so this is our main milk cow barn. Used to be filled with 250 cows.
Used to be filled. The cows are gone now.
We sold the cows back in August.
A statement like that echoes in the empty barn. Doug LaGrange was one of the 1% that still farm.
As opposed to some other jobs that might be just jobs, this is a lifestyle. It's a way of life. You know, I grew up here.
It's eerie to see the empty stalls and motionless fans, the bushes growing up over all those awards they won for the quality of their milk. The roots of farming run so far back that there is a blue sign out front. After 12 generations on the land in New Scotland and 8 generations of farmers, LaGrange had to be the one to shut it down.
You know, I sit down with a $25,000 milk check, you know, and I have $38,000 worth of bills every 2 weeks. It just doesn't work. I mean, there's the tank and stuff and the offices.
It became a matter of deciding which bill to pay and which bill to put off while the debt increased.
Even coming up to when we finally sold the cows, you just can't take care of them because you don't have the money to expend to do it as well. So eventually you have to say, okay, do you have to shut down? Or do you keep going and try to patch here and patch there? And we got to the point where it just wasn't an option to keep going with the low prices as they were.
Low milk prices have been a problem for a long time. It means patching broken equipment and putting off fixing old buildings. Farmers become their own carpenters, bookkeepers, veterinarians, and mechanics. The last time the LaGrange farm bought a new tractor, Doug was a kid.
When I was a kid, I remember a picture of me on my little bicycle out in front of the 4520 with the 7-bottom plows. You know, you're talking, oh my gosh, $1,000 a tire roughly, something like that.
Really?
Yeah, quite expensive.
You just can't buy a new tractor.
No.
It's not as easy as turning off the cows to limit milk supply and drive the price up. And it's not as easy as just raising the price of his milk. LaGrange can't control what he's paid for his milk. The federal government sets the price using a complicated formula. It isn't connected to what you pay in stores for a gallon. For consumers, a gallon of milk cost about the same as it did in 2003. In 2014, farmers' prices hit a high, but they dropped about 30% in 2015 and stayed there. Farmers are getting out. There are 20% fewer dairy farms today in New York than even 10 years ago, but about the same number of cows. The 4,400 farms left, though, are producing more milk. That means fewer, bigger farms, with each cow producing more milk than ever before. The state says the average cow today produces more than double the amount she was producing in 1970.
We've
going to figure this out. We're going to get through it.
State Ag Commissioner Richard Ball says that's the problem, too much milk. With tariff talk ramping up, Ball is worried about a big hit.
You know, we got concerned about steel and aluminum, for example, with some of our trading partners, and immediately they throw up retaliation, and it's almost always, in some cases, over 80 agricultural products. That's not good for New York State.
Ball is talking about China. Out of the countries that import dairy from the U.S., China buys the third most. The country announced its own 25% tariff on a wide range of dairy products taking effect in early July. Mexico buys a quarter of the country's dairy exports. In response to U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum, Mexico announced $387 million worth of retaliatory tariffs on cheese. Nearly half of the dairy in New York is sold outside of the state's borders. These small farmers in the capital region are impacted by decisions made and demand from around the world. Ball says the decrease in farms will likely continue because many farmers will retire without being replaced. The average age of a farmer during the last census was 58. But Ball says the exodus doesn't need to continue in order to stabilize the market if small, medium, and large dairy farmers look in the mirror.
Who's our customer? And what do they want? And are we meeting their needs? And I think this is where the dairy industry in particular has kind of gotten separated. We've been so good at what we do in production that we don't think about the consumer or what they want.
Still, the state ag department is trying to get New Yorkers to buy more dairy through marketing and school programs. And in the past 2 years, the state has put $50 million into plants making dairy products like cheese and butter. Ball grew up a dairy farmer. He switched to farming vegetables and now sells produce at the Carrot Barn, a farm store in Schoharie.
When I was 7 years old and got to help my grandfather milk cows, I was pretty excited. When I was 18, got my first full-time job working on a farm, got a paycheck, I was pretty excited. When I bought my own farm, you know, after working for 20 years in agriculture, I was pretty excited. But I got to tell you, today I'm more excited than I've ever been about the future of agriculture, especially in New York. And there's no other state I'd want to do this in than right here.
Back on the empty farm, LaGrange isn't as excited.
This is getting bad.
He says there's no bringing farmland back from asphalt. Nearly 1/4 of New York's total land area is used as farmland. And then there's the local economy. A Pew Research report referenced multiple studies that found as herd size increased, farms spent less money locally. Although a farmer's salary is often low, the average New York dairy farm brought in $613,000 in revenue before expenses per year.
We need the local farmer not only for the product, but for the local economy. And that whole picture has to be understood. And I'm worried that it's getting too late.
It's already too late for this farm. The LaGrange family wants to keep the land that's been in the family since before the Revolutionary War, maybe rent it to other farms. Selling the cows paid off about 2/3 of the mortgage, but the money didn't take any of the sting out of it.
It's sad. I mean, I bring my grandson down and he gets up in the tractors, he's going to be 8 in August, and he said to my wife the other day that, Poppy decided not to do the cows anymore, but when I get bigger, I want to do them here, and that's not going to happen.
Does that break your heart, though?
Yeah, it does.
Doug has a desk job now. He's the town supervisor. His old herd is spread out among the fewer, likely much bigger, farms. The Hopefullys are still hanging on, hoping little Jacob will someday have the chance to be a farmer in one of the few places where the cows are still known by names and not just by numbers.